Just wanting to say hello to everybody here in You know, they're both different, but in different ways. I mean, Titanic was just a huge conceptual and logistical thing. I mean, Titanic started from like a bare piece of land beside the ocean in Mexico, and we just had to build the entire thing from the ground up, including the actual studio it was filmed in. So, and then we had to deal with the water and the tanks and whatever, and the logistics of building a sort of real scale ship. This is a little bit different because not being a studio film, firstly you have the issue of, well, how are you going to raise the money, and you know, the fact that we decided to do that in a slightly different way and make it a sort of cooperative, you know, effort amongst a number of different investors. That was very successful, but you know, it was like anything that is done for the first time. It was quite difficult, and then we had, you know, just the internal complexities of having, you know, 3 directors, say 2 directing teams, and running parallel units and actors going like this and different time periods. Well, I think that just really flows out of the fundamental nature of the story. I mean, the story really is a story of humanity, rather than, it's not an American story or an Australian story or a Chinese story. And I think right from the outset, David had made that clear in his book. The fact that, you know, the future is set in, you know, in a sort of a dystopian sort of, you know, broadly Asian-based sort of territory. I think it just seemed like you couldn't really be representative of the ideas and of the book unless you did that. And then from that, we thought, well, a way to advance that idea even more is this idea of having actors playing different characters in different time periods, playing across genders, and you know, across race at times, so that we tried to make it, you know, underline it at every point that it was a story of humans and humanity, and that's, you know, I think that's why once we decided to do that, you know, we were lucky. I think we got 2 of the best Asian actresses out there, put in wonderful performances. You know, I had not met her, and I was in Beijing, and Philip suggested, you know, her name had come up, and Philip suggested that we drive out to where she was working on location. And you know, as soon as I met her, she could tell that she was the person. You know, there's a depth of humanity in her, and her acting is so spare. She's not a busy actor. She very much sort of is such a beautiful actor in terms of gestures, and she acts a lot with her eyes, so you get a lot of feeling out of it with economy, and there really is a warmth and a strength in her that is applicable to the story. I think she's wonderful. I mean, anybody that can get up on the screen and sort of hold their own with Tom Hanks and all of, you know, she's a professional. She's a wonderful actress. You know, and I think, you know, she's obviously already very popular, but I think that she has, you know, there is a lot of places that she can extend to from here. No, I mean, in a general sense, she has, as we've done with the other principal characters, she has, I think from memory, she has 4 roles that vary from two very significant ones to two relatively small roles, which everybody, including Hanks, have done. So she plays the whole gamut from she is, if you look at the sort of the through line of a character, she plays characters that have a strength and are always sort of leading the story forward. She plays Tom Hanks's sister in one of the episodes. She plays in another part within the sort of Somni section. She is the rebel. She is the first person within this very closed society where, you know, the populace is sort of held prisoner almost. She is the one that sort of, that intellectually and then physically rises, sees her situation and then rises above it and then acts. And you know, she's very, very good. And then she plays a very funny little part, almost unrecognisable, where it's in the 70s, I think, in the Lisa Ray story. She comes to the door as a Spanish male hotel porter, and sort of, you know, comes in, gets a message, and goes scurrying out, which is pretty funny. But yeah, she's a real central key part of the story, and particularly, as I say, you know, with her, I think it's all about sort of humanity. You know. Yeah, look, we're really positive. I mean, we were at Toronto last or 10 days ago. That was our first, you know, screening, you know, first public screening. It's wonderful cinema, 2,000 people, and we got a 12-minute standing ovation at the end of it. You know, so 1,600 people clapping for 12 minutes at the end of your movie is good, particularly in that sort of environment. You know, Toronto is known to be a festival that is basically has filmmakers and film supporters, and you know, it has a very diverse audience, and interestingly enough, a very big Chinese audience. And you know, it was just fantastic. I mean, you know, people are moved by the movie. People love the scope of the movie. They love the sort of melange of actors and faces, and do you know them, don't you know them, combined with, you know, the action, the fundamental emotion of the central sort of story. You know, it's a big roller coaster ride. You know, there's and that's, you know, that's relatively rare to get all those things together in a sort of a big epic movie these days. So, you know, I think it will do very well. I think that people are going to like it. I think they're going to go back to it. I think there'll be a lot of sort of return viewing, and you know, I think they'll just have fun.